know this song by title. It's You're the Cream of My Coffee. And I've sung it before when I perform for audiences. And I rewrote the bridge. And I was drawn to sing this to you today. So please indulge me. Thank you so much. You're the cream in my coffee, you're the salt in my stew, you will always be my necessity, I'd be lost without you. You're the starch in my collar, you're the lace in my shoe, you will always be my necessity, I'd be lost without you. This time together has been a pleasure, with my respects to pay. So glad I came your way. You're the toast of the hour, like a warm April shower. You will always be my necessity. I'd be lost without you.
Yay!
Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you, Megan. Wonderful. So, we have some really, really spectacular people on board. I mean, we try to work into the schedule, a little bit of cool tools and resources. We probably could have went all day, right? How about the burning questions and rapid fire business building breakthroughs? Was that a good session? Yeah. We try to include you, so again, it's not just a monologue, it's a dialogue. And so, how about the panels, the expert panels? Did you like that? I think most of us kept to the no pitching and no bitching rule. I want to apologize if I was a little curt or stern in yanking people off the stage that violated that rule. I want to thank you, all the 99% of you that followed the rules, the pay it forward etiquette, and made it more about each other than about yourself. I own a company called specialeventsatsea.com, and I could do a big infomercial about all the other groups that my team and I produce throughout the year for groups of 50 to 500, but you guys know where to find me, so enough about me, and back to you. So I want to bring Tom on. We were going to take 10 minutes each, but we know how hungry everyone is for lunch after this big 3-hour session. We were going to take a little 10 minutes each if we had the time, and we never seem to have the time, right? And we were going to do a fireside chat with Tom and I to really tell our backgrounds and our stories beyond the 30 seconds that we did. But if you'd like to take a minute, can we wrap our lives up in 1 minute? And then any final closing thoughts before we head to lunch, and then the big farewell party at the Liquid Lounge, not the Limelight. Do you remember the first night that we had the big theater, the showroom? And so we'll be there at 4 o'clock with a cocktail party from 4 to 5. We're probably about 4:45 p.m. take the stage and do our big awards celebration for all the speakers and all the people that contributed to this marketing. But right now, Tom, first let's have a big round of applause for Mr. Tom Beal.
I'm going to do this in a way that's going to help the marketers here. When Mike, Phil, Sam, and I worked together from 2006 to 2011, we did numerous multi-million-dollar product launches. Who does product launches here? Product launches. They take a lot of time and effort, am I right? A lot of time and effort. And sometimes they produce great results, and guess what? Sometimes they don't, right? But you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you keep moving forward. By the way, Mike and I do have another product launch coming up in February. If you want, and you are an affiliate, talk with me about that. That's going to be huge. But needless to say, we produced tens of millions of dollars together in the time frame of 2006 to 2011. For every offer that we began to craft before AI, we broke it down to 9 words with a blank sheet of paper. These produced multiple tens of millions. Who's interested in these 9 words? All right, so it's tell your story, share your results, sell your system. And this circles back to my brief, less than a minute summary of my life. But as a marketer, Mike and I would sit down with a blank sheet of paper like, okay, what's our offer? Tell our story, share our results, sell our system. Tell your story, share your results, sell your system. You're going to hear my brief story. I want you to hear this though. Prior to me coming up with this, I thought I just had a normal life. Who's ever had a weird, crazy life that you didn't realize was crazy and crazy? I just thought that's what everybody had. And if you really think about it, isn't that true? We grew up in the family that we grew up in, and when you're little, you don't know anybody had it different, right? So just to give you the brief scenario of who I am at 51 years of age at this particular point in time. I was born to a teenage parents. My mom was 17 when I was born, my dad was 19. There was a lot of talk about should this baby even be born. I was born in 1972, where abortion was just recently legalized. There was a lot of conversations about should I be born or not. I was born, thankfully, due to my parents not falling for the easy way out. Now, was my life easy? Hell no. I grew up around 4 divorces and 6 marriages between my 2 parents, in and out of households who had similar scenarios, right? That was there were many nights crying as a child wondering why me? Another, in a family, they love you, then you're out, and now you're ostracized, then you're in another family. So anyhow, 4 divorces and 6 marriages between my 2 parents as a child. I went to 9 different schools by 8th grade. Who traveled a lot and went to different schools. It wasn't necessarily because I was a military brat or anything like that. It was because we were poor as hell. Who was poor as hell growing up? I mean, as the new kid, 9 different schools by 8th grade, I got picked on. As the new kid, who got picked on in school, right? Bullies, like I got bullied, I got picked on. That just felt bad. I had the high waters, and I was in upstate New York, Rochester, New York area, and then my mom met my now sisters that I'm living with in St. Thomas. My 2 sisters live in St. Thomas with me. Oh, my mom birthed 3 children. We all live there in St. Thomas. Pretty amazing story. But fast forward, her kids now, my nephews, are 8 and 11. I was 8 years old when my mom met their dad. And then I was 10 when my sister was born. So it's kind of a weird way how life works. Who knows that? Life kind of unfolds crazily. But I'm now telling you this story, which now I've summarized. My name's Tom Beadle. I was born to teenagers, raised around 4 divorces and 6 marriages, went to 9 different schools by 8th grade, went on to become a national bicycle freestyle champion. Who's ever seen the tricks on a bike? I was a national bicycle freestyle champion as a youngster. I went on to become a top wrestler. I went on to produce great results in sales in corporate world. I was #1 in 5 sales organizations. And I decided that I hit the ceiling. Now it's time for me to go out as an entrepreneur. I thought, oh, by the way, I was also the #1 honor man out of Marine Corps boot camp. Yeah, out of 80 people, right? So I had a record of being the high performer. Why did I have the record of being a high performer? Because look at me. Do you love me now? Am I lovable? Am I good enough? You know this, right? This is our human nature. I was a high performer because I wanted my parents to acknowledge me. I wanted the love. And this I'm saying, I'm telling you now, while I was in the Marine Corps, I was sitting in the back of the church listening to a guy who had his leg chopped off in a boating accident as a youngster, and he wrote a book about how he climbed all the highest mountains as one of the only men with 1 leg to do it. I'm sitting in the back, my arms folded at about 22 years old saying, well, this guy can do it because he's got a story. I don't have a story. And I'm saying that to plant into you. You have a story. Each and every one of you have a story.
We all have a story.
You all have a story. So going back to those 9 words, tell your story. Share your results, sell your system. And then the other part of the story is, and I learned this from Rich Sheffrin, what you feel is most personal is most universal. I didn't share a lot of these things because it hurt me. I was embarrassed to share these things. Who knows that? Who'd had a childhood, you're embarrassed. And as a child, I went alcoholism, abuse, neglect, all the crazy stories. And I was like, I don't want to tell anybody. The more you tell those stories, the more people are going to relate to you. They will know, like, and trust you. Yes. The more personal it feels, the more it's going to relate to the audience. Yes. So that may be a little bit longer than a minute, but then from that, I got out of corporate America and then went into the entrepreneur world, and it immediately skidded on my face. After all those high successful things, I thought I'll be the quickest multimillionaire ever. Whoever had thought that feeling. It skidded on my face. What the heck? I did all these other things. How come this is so different? This is a different set of rules. But when you learn them, you can embrace them and get to other levels of success there. So one of the keys to my online success was leverage, teaming up with people. And that's something that we're all doing here as this amazing marketers group. So that's who I am and what I do. And I hope those lessons that I just shared briefly can help you. Most importantly, you have a story. Most importantly, you don't have to hide anything. The more open you are, the more people are going to connect with you. Yes. And by the way, a lot of the stuff that I just said, I didn't choke up, but you may have felt a little bit of it. I used to break down and cry a lot during this. So when you're first telling these deep, dark, secret stories, you might have to go through some emotional exercising of it as you discuss it, but you become able to share it in a manner over time. But remember those 9 words. Tell your story, share your results, sell your system, and go out there and make an impact in the world. My name is Tom Beal. Thank you very much.
Come on, go for it.
My dad was born Friday the 13th, December 13th of 1897. Not my granddad, my dad. And my mom was born on April Fool's Day of April of 1918, right? And so I was an accident. They were dirt poor. It was their second marriage. They lived in the projects of Red Hook, Brooklyn. And back then, again, yeah, go Red Hook. Back then, abortions were not a clear option, and my parents admitted to me that they would have had one if they didn't want to go to a back alley thing. They said, said like they had absolutely no preparation, emotionally or financially, to care for a child at age 62 and 42 and being dirt poor. So we were on welfare and food stamps and had hand-me-downs and wore the same pair of jeans. I didn't have sneakers until I was like 18 years old. Wore hand-me-down mattresses. We lived in squalor. It was completely disgusting. And my parents were uneducated, and here I am. After my mom died at age 15 or 16, I dropped out of school. I'm actually, you guys know I'm an 8th grade dropout that's never seen the inside of a high school, and somehow I've gone on to lecture at colleges, write 3 books, and speak on stages around the world. How did that happen?
Yeah.
Just with the fire in the belly and grit and gusto and not looking for a hand out, but for a hand up, and making friends. And back then I didn't know the phrase, go where you're celebrated, not merely tolerated. So I tolerated a whole lot of crap. And, ran away to join the circus. The circus for me was Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation. And back in the day, in the late 70s, we had people like Andre the Giant and Bruno Sammartino, the Polish Power, Ivan Putski, and a guy named Captain Lou Albano. Captain Lou was my friend, may he rest in peace, and this whole persona is homage to my old friend Captain Lou Albano, manager of champions. My mom died, my father went crazy, I was on my own. I'm an only child, that's why I say the Marketers Cruise clients that turned into the Marketers Cruise friends have actually become my Marketers Cruise family. And some of you will find the same thing and have found the same thing in the past 8 days. So I could have recoiled, I could have gone to the other side, the wrong side of the tracks, and hang out with some people that are no longer alive in the hood that I grew up. But instead I decided to just do something better with my life, and along the way with pro wrestling and 20 years as the blind man. You guys know before the cruises I was the blind man, right? You don't know that? So, window treatments. Guys, how do you make a Venetian blind? Poke him in the eyes. And if you don't buy verticals from us, it's going to be curtains for you. But anyway, that was a whole different life. 23 years I thought it was going to be. I got into my big claim to fame, I got into 7,345 women's bedrooms in New York, measuring their windows. I was New York's only straight heterosexual interior decorator for a number of years. But think about that. But,
oh my God!
At some point, you say to yourself, I think I just want to be making. I've made a living, but now I'd like to start making a life. And I grew up in the generation of dirt poor parents that said, don't forget about fulfillment, forget about all these other things. Just get a steady job, earn your money, do what you need to do, put a roof over your head. How many of you had that kind of background where they would think that you're just a dreamer, a nut, to actually think that you could be doing the things that we're all doing now, right? And so you have to break out of that with mindset, and that's not very, very easy. But I know we're out of time. I'm really, really blessed, to have had the perseverance and the help, and it really truly does take a village. And friends have become family, and family have catapulted me to higher heights. I really wish my parents were alive to see what I've accomplished based upon where I came from. And I'm also very proud of Tom to see his trajectory and everything that he's dealt with. We've all had a lot of pain points in our past. It's easy to get up on stage, be a persona, oh, I'm Captain Lou, and do all the shtick and all the jokes and so forth. But you know that there's been a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of disappointment, a tough road, a lot of blood, sweat, and years to be able to get to where you want to be. And it's not just my story or Tom's story. I think every one of you could probably tell a personal story that could make us, maybe with the exception of 3 people that I know in the room. But most of you have a story to tell, and you need to get that story out to the world. Most of you are already doing that. So I want to just again thank you guys for just being part of my story and each other's here on the Marketers Cruise. We love you the most, to say the least. And on that note, let's go to lunch, but make sure that you're signed up for next year and now promote the heck out of the Marketers Cruise and be back in the Liquid Lounge at 4 p.m. Yes, thank you very much, guys. We love you.
Don't forget to fill out the forms in the back for the best presentation and the Heart of Gold.